I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Allen? Here. Broughton?
Here.
Darnall?
Here.
DePalma?
Here.
Cordella?
Here.
Marshall?
Here.
Thurman?
Here. At this time, we need to approve our agenda. Are there any corrections or concerns on the agenda tonight? Someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Support.
I have a motion by Treasurer Darnell, seconded by Clerk Allen, to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The agenda has been approved unanimously. And we can move right on to our reports. We have a lot of reports tonight. First is our monthly treasury report, our general ledger report, our designated report, our reconciliation report. We have a building department report tonight, and our building director is here. Mr. Dinnan, would you like to speak to your report at all? No.
It is what it is.
Does anyone have any questions about the building report?
It's just a mileage form, that's all I got, right?
Yep,
Okay, I know. Good.
same goes for the recreation report. It's just a mileage report tonight, too.
Yeah.
But we do have a very nice fire department fourth quarter report and annual report for 2017, and our fire chief is here. Would you like to speak to your report?
I think we see a year of comparison.
I'll try to be brief. Should only take about an hour. All right. You have the fourth quarter report in front of you. For that quarter, we had 341 incidents. It's got them all broke down. Probably the biggest one, as we all know, is about 60% of our calls are medical. So not a big surprise there. The most transports we go to is St. Joe's. And if there's anything particular in there, we'll be happy to talk about. But then we'll get to our 2017 highlights is probably the real meat and potatoes, if you will. It's pretty much the same information. For the total year, we were up, again, about 100 calls for the year. That's what we've been clicking away at every year here for the past few years. We had the highest that we had ever had, 1,323 calls for service. Of those, 820 of those were medical. 206 were some other public assist. We had injury accidents, 67 of those, burn complaints, 18 structure fires. And you got to remember, structure fires doesn't mean they're always a total loss. Sometimes it's something small, but it comes in as a structure fire. So, and then 4 vehicle fires. Medical types. There's a lot of different ones in there. Other means it came in and we changed it. It could have been a heart attack. It could have been something else. It didn't really fit the category. So if that makes any sense. We had 701 patient transports for the year. Again, of the 701 of those transported, we transported from University of Michigan all the way to Flint, to Troy, and to Detroit. So we kind of go all over the place. U of M and Detroit would be by far our farthest trips. And then St. Joe's was the most patients that we transported was to St. Joe's. Again, this is typically done by the patient's choice, and as long as they're stable. If they're an unstable patient, they have to go to the closest, most appropriate facility. So sometimes that may get changed. They have to go to Genesis, depending on their condition. May have to go to Clarkston, depending on their condition, if they can be treated there. So it just depends. They may get stabilized there, and then we may end up transporting to another facility.
Chief, you said U of M Detroit. Are you talking about U of M Ann
Oh,
Arbor?
No, U of M Ann Arbor.
Oh, okay.
No, we transported it to U of M Ann Arbor as well as hospitals in Detroit. Let me clarify that.
Oh, okay.
Henry Ford, Maine, Henry Ford, Detroit, all of those different ones. Of the most significant thing is that we did have a full-time firefighter, Jason Wilton, who graduated from the Staff of Command class at Eastern Michigan University. So he's a fellow alumni now.
Good.
That's great.
If there's any other questions you may have, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Do you ever keep track of like a year-to-year thing where we could see the statistics of what's changing at all?
You know, I could. It's just a spreadsheet, so it'd
Yeah.
be pretty easy to do.
Not that it has to be all fancy and stuff, but it'd be kind of, nice to see what's
So you want to see
changing.
all the trends. What we used
Yeah.
to have, our reports used to be about 75 pages to
Oh
100
gosh, I
pages
don't need
long.
that.
I had to save money on
Waste
paper.
of-
Yeah, that was,
Yeah, no, I don't need 75 pages,
Let
and
me
it doesn't
know.
have to
Well-
be all pretty. It'd just be neat, just to see where transports have changed, where response times have changed, and how many incidences you've had year to year, how the trend is going.
Right, and we can give you,
Like a
some of that
5-year
will be pretty easy, some of it, maybe a little more difficult.
I
so-
don't want to cause you any
So
problems, so
we'll
whatever's
get
easy.
together, and I'll try and get you what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's nothing major.
Sound good?
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
yep, you're very welcome.
My congratulations to firefighter Wilton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Having been through staff and command myself, it's not easy. There's a lot of work involved. So congratulations to him.
Thank you.
I have a question. The paragraph above that talks about
It's not bad. Read it. Okay, yes.
about being on standby for varsity and junior varsity games.
Yep.
Does the school reimburse us at all for our time?
That's a negative.
That's a negative. Okay. All right. I was curious. Thank you.
It's community service.
Same with the junior Blackhawks, because that's not school
Correct.
district, that's just a program.
Right,
Okay.
that's a community program
Right.
that we also cover.
My thinking on that was that there's things that the school charges us for, and yet we're doing a community service for them. So something we might want to keep in mind in the future.
good point.
Understood.
Any other questions for the fire chief? It's a great report. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. Next is the sheriff's year-end report, and we have Lieutenant Glover here.
Unlike the fire department, I do have the past couple of years.
Well, police departments always do it better.
I did not say that.
During the 2017 calendar year, we responded to almost 7,000 dispatch calls.
Wow.
6,964 dispatch calls to be exact, and that's including Brandon Township and the village combined. We've had an increase of 807 dispatch calls this year compared to 2016, in which we had 6,100 calls. In 2015, we had 5,900 calls. We're averaging about 19 to 20 calls per day, 134 calls a week. Our traffic enforcement, this year we wrote 2,005 traffic citations. In the year 2016, we wrote 1,482. We also, which is a difference of 523 tickets, but we also include in that count our warning tickets. We did write 398 warnings. Our guys do not give out a lot of warnings once you make a traffic stop. It's giving somebody a break. We try to do that, especially with our township and village residents. But a lot of the guys are not big into warning citations once you make a traffic stop.
How many? What was that?
398 warnings out of the 2,005 tickets. We also wrote 93 appearance tickets, which range from anything from trespassing to disorderly person, domestic violence, OUIL, OUIN. Appearance tickets, I've mentioned this before, are the same thing as an arrest, but it gives us an option of lodging them or not, or releasing them on a ticket. We try to do that when possible, especially with the overcrowding in the jail. One of the things worth noting this year is we arrested 17 drivers for operating under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Last year, we had 39. 2015, we had 40. Those numbers have significantly dropped. In addition to our regular traffic enforcement, we responded to 311 traffic-related crashes. During 2017, this is also substantially lower from 2016, where we responded to 337 crashes. Our narcotics unit, which is a separate undercover unit, conducted 5 investigations, executed 2 search warrants, and made 2 arrests. That's over and beyond what our normal contract guys do. Those are cases that we've forwarded on to our narcotics unit because it involves surveillance or those type of things. Our contract reinforcement team, we used those guys on 12 different occasions, 12 different shifts, which I should say, which kept me from having to hire overtime. We've been running into the department across the board has been short-staffed as far as retirements, so the CRT cars are not quite as prevalent as they have been in years past. School liaison fill dates. I was able to use the school liaison officer to help alleviate some overtime during the summer on 8 different shifts. This is an approximate savings of about $4,000. In 2017, Detective Hubble alone was involved in 476 school-related incidents, with 75 of those being written reports for some form of an investigation. And one of the reasons those numbers are high is because, and I listed the schools of where those incidents were at, and of course the high school and the middle school being our top 2, is that with a school liaison, just about any time that they call and ask for an officer to be involved for an interview or to talk to one of the students, I've had them take a number, because that is, the schools over the years has wanted to pretend that nothing goes on in the schools and that our officers are used on a, rarely a rare occasion. That's not the case. Like I said, 75 of those were investigations, which is substantial. I've made it very clear to the school that if you're going to tie up one of my officers, that's the same as tying up one of our road patrol. If that school liaison was not there, I'd have to pull somebody from the road patrol to respond to those incidents. So that, and I've made it very clear that if it's something that you're asking us for, then we're going to take a number on.
I understand the high school and unfortunately even the middle school. What kind of calls are you taking at the elementary school?
We've had anything from incidents involving handicapped children to fights, a lot of sexual complaints. One of the schools in particular, we seem to have a few more. I mean, just about anything, which is one of the reasons that it's so significant with the school liaison, because we seem to be inundated with sexual complaints. And what that does is it literally takes that detective out of the township, because anytime you're involved in a juvenile, it's set up for a care house interview, which is done down in Pontiac, and that's done by forensic specialists that can interview kids. So we spend a lot of time down there. Our statistics and clearance rates. In 2017, we had 221 micro-reported criminal offenses in Brandon Township. And those offenses are offenses that the federal government, the FBI, monitors. They're major incidents. Out of the 221, 113 of them were cleared with arrest. 18 were exceptionally cleared, meaning no prosecution was sought. With that being said, Brandon Township still had one of the highest clearance rates in the county of 59.3% clearance rate on all reported offenses that the government monitors and keeps statistics of. The average among our substations is 48%. Last year we had a clearance rate of 59.26%, which was the highest among our substations. I think this year one of the other substations might have got us by like 0.1%, and I'd put my numbers against theirs, but it's still very high. 2017 like I said, has shown a substantial increase in dispatch calls. As you know, we've had an unusual year out here. on a lot of major calls. With the 807 calls, it's significant because of the increase that places on our detective bureau. The more calls you have, the more investigations that are involved. Since 2014, our statistics have shown that we've had a growth of 450 calls a year for the past 3 years. Even if I took all of the school calls away from our dispatch calls, we're still 331 calls ahead of last year, with not including those school cases. Traffic enforcement has shown an increase in traffic stops. We have tried to be very visible on the main roads, which I believe has resulted in a significant decline in our traffic crashes, as well as a major decline in OUILs and OUIN calls. With a heavy presence on M15, especially by my midnight crew, I think it's made a huge impact on who is leaving what bars and when. I've heard through the grapevine that there are a lot of people getting rides from one specific bar because they know we're on the road. However, occasionally one still gets out. We've tried to keep also a heavier presence on the back roads. I know that a lot of complaints come in here as far as the speeds on the back roads. We don't get a lot of time to be proactive with setting somewhere on a back road and working radar. We just don't. I've tried to do it myself, especially in the morning during the school hours when the kids are out at the bus stops. I'm very proud of the work that the guys assigned to the substation have done. It's been a very busy year. It's been a trying year. And if it wasn't for their hard work and dedication to the township, we wouldn't have the clearance rate that we have with clearing major cases with arrest. We make a lot of arrests on our major cases. The guys take pride in clearing our cases and not having open cases. And when I say open cases, I'm saying assault and batteries, B&Es where somebody's breaking into somebody's house. So without their hard work, we would not have the clearance rates that we have that continues to be the highest in the county.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions for Lieutenant Glover?
LT, I'd just like to say thank you to you for running a real tight ship and doing exceptionally well with your administration of the substation. And thank you to all the guys. Please pass along my thanks to them.
Absolutely.
And
And
females.
from the whole board,
I do
From
have
all
one.
of us.
I think we all are appreciative of all of our first
Yes.
responders, even the fire department.
Great. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you very much. All right. We also have a Edna Burton Senior Center report tonight and a CDBG report. So that'll bring us to our trustees' reports. And why don't we start down with Chris, trustee Cordella?
Just one thing to say, the planning commission did meet for the first time in a long time, and I think the meeting minutes are in here on that session, so just you guys can peruse it, and if you probably already have, so I think that's about it.
All right, thank you. Trustee Marshall.
As a public service announcement, I would like to remind everybody, February 14th is Valentine's Day. Don't make your spouse or significant other angry.
That was too good.
I didn't know you were a Cupid.
Well, you know, it's hard hiding my wings, but, you know.
Okay, thank you. Trustee DePalma.
I just have a couple things. First, the Retirement Oversight Committee met. The state finally came out with a report that has to be filed by June regarding the pension and the OPEB. So we reviewed the report, and we'll meet again to go over the report when we file it to show they're going to start watching what percent funding we have. We discussed making sure payments were being made and when our actuarial will get done this year and our year-end reports from MERS. Also, I attended the MTA Capital Conference last Wednesday. It was my first time attending it. It was very interesting and learned some bills that are still out there and some bills that they're going to be working on, and that's about it, really.
Okay. right, thank you. Trustee Broughton.
Hello, everyone. I don't really have a whole lot new tonight. Fred sent me some rough drafts of his newest applications for grant funds, so I'll be reviewing that, but I have not finished that yet. So that's all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you. Treasurer's report.
Well, we're just about through another tax season. The winter taxes can be paid through the 14th of February without penalties or interest. As of the 15th of February, there will be a 1% of the unpaid portion due. Summer and winter bills can be paid here until March 1st. After March 1st, the townships have to balance to the state of Michigan, so we can't take any money in because we can't change our bottom line. So at that time, it goes to Oakland County. Don't make it out to us. It has to be made out to Oakland County. Also, dog tags are still available at our office. Remember to bring your certificate of rabies with you at the time of purchase. This year, there has been an increase in the cost. The tags, all the steps are $3 more this year than last year. If you have any questions, call the office.
Hey, Terry.
Thank
just a
you.
Quick question.
Your first
as of,
call.
Hello.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What percentage returns have you gotten versus?
It's hard to say.
Still outstanding. Just curious, just round numbers.
I would say maybe 80%. We usually get about 90%. We are very fortunate to live in Oakland County because they typically make up a great deal of the difference. I won't say it's 100%, but it's close.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Treasurer Darnell. We now have a report from the clerk.
Welcome, everybody. Always nice to see most of the chairs full. Thanks for coming out tonight. Last Wednesday, I also went to the Capitol Conference in Lansing with Dana and Kathy, and it's nice. We broke off into some separate rooms, and I actually went into the election room so that I could hear that there are going to be more changes and to get ready for our August election. And I'm going to put something in the newspaper regarding precincts 1 and 2. The location has moved from BFIS, the Brandon Fletcher School, and now everyone in those 2 precincts will vote at the high school. So we're very fortunate. The high school principal and our superintendent agreed that that would be a nice location. It's got lots of great parking and we'll have lots of space, so fortunate for that. Next week, we're having a mandatory walk through the Edna Burton Senior Center for people interested in doing the remodel in the kitchen. We're going to make it ADA, put in new cupboards, and get the CDBG money spent on that. And then the following week, there is the deadline for the bids, and the opening will be on February 22nd. So it was in the newspaper this last Saturday. Thanks, Shelby. And that's it for me.
All right. Thank you, Clerk Allen. As far as the supervisor's report tonight, I have a kind of a lengthy one. I've been working on getting Gov Delivery set up on our website, so those that sign up will be able to receive alerts, and it will take another month or 2 before it's ready to go. I attended the Human Trafficking Task Force press conference on January 11th at the county building, and human trafficking is more prevalent problem than one might think. And I thank the task force committee, and in particular Mike Spiz, who is our county commissioner. Thank you. And for the work that they've done on such an important project. I'm in the process of getting bids for our OPEB actuarial evaluations for our next meeting. We should be able to choose someone to do that for us. My goal is to have it done before the June 30 reporting deadline. I attended the Zoning Board of Appeals training on January 30th. Our planner, Doug Lewan, was the speaker, and he did a great job. We had 8 representatives from Brandon Township attending, and we all learned a lot. On January 31st, I attended the Capitol Conference with Trustee DePalma and Clerk Allen. They're still working through implementing and regulations of the new medical marijuana law, and I hope, and they hope to begin issuing licenses in March. Even though the process is moving forward, Brandon Township will not be allowing any licenses in the township for medical marijuana facilities. I also attended the class on audit of minimum assessing requirements, the AMAR, and I shared that information with our assessor, so he will be more informed. And I wanted to let everyone know that there was an Iron Bell Trail meeting in Lake Orion on February 1st, and I attended that with Treasurer Darnell and Trustee Broughton. And it's the DNR and SEMCOG are looking at either coming up M15 from Clarkston or Clarkston up Dixie Highway to Grand Blanc. And it sounds like they will be having public hearings on those two possible routes. So I don't have any dates or anything to share, but that's what I came away with as the gist of that meeting. And I'm also glad to see everyone here tonight, and we'll continue on with our meeting. So next we have correspondence. For correspondence, we have Planning Commission meeting minutes of June 27th, 2017.
Could I address that? Would this be appropriate time to address that particular correspondence?
I guess,
Okay.
if you'd like.
The irony is not lost on me that in minutes from a June meeting where the board is accused of being unprepared and having a lack of general knowledge, that these minutes are 7 months old and contain information that we've already voted on. I find either somebody's incompetent or incapable of doing their job. There's no reason we should have minutes that are 7 months old containing information that we needed to in order to vote. I don't understand what the problem is here.
Okay, thank you. I do know that they haven't met very much this year, so.
They already had a meeting and they took minutes. I don't understand why it took 7 months.
They have to approve the minutes at their next meeting.
Yeah, but hold, Kathy.
But, and I, yes.
And Kathy and I spoke about, because
Right.
I had the same issues, obviously, especially since they deigned to call us out on being uninformed. Well, we can only be as informed as they inform us, right? What we have seen a little deeper into the packet, though, is we're going to be asked to actually decide on a different issue, and for that, they decided to include their draft minutes from January. In the future, if we're going to vote, if we're going to be asked to make a decision on something, whether or not they have their finalized minutes, I don't care, but I'd like to see the draft minutes before we're asked to vote on something in the future.
Yeah, that would
They're
make
able
sense.
to do that for this other issue tonight.
Right, why weren't they able to do it for the
Because
transient
otherwise,
issue?
I think there was a few of us that were kind of flabbergasted by, it's not just the fact that we got them so late, but that they point out that we're uninformed. And it was just, the irony, as Bob said, is it's ridiculous. Okay.
Okay. All right, our building director's in the audience, so I'm sure he's,
So you're saying they
Gonna
haven't
be-
had.
I'm sure he doesn't want to
So you're
stand up
saying
and
they
say
haven't
anything.
had a meeting since June?
No, they had one in
Well,
January.
if we want them
they,
to.
yeah, they approved those in
They
January.
approved those in January, okay.
Oh,
No, I
did
think,
you-
I think Scott has a good idea.
Oh,
No, I mean, I think Scott has a good idea. If
I
we-
think their point is that we would like to see the draft minutes if it pertains to something we're voting on, as opposed to waiting for the approved minutes.
I
at
think that's
later
a good
time.
idea. Or for us to be more informed by the person who's on the two boards who's supposed to come and tell us what's going on, because we had no clue what was going on by that other board, because we didn't get the minutes or heard any reports from that meeting.
It's not your fault, Bill. We're not
Yeah.
calling
Yeah,
you, we're
no.
not calling you
Yeah.
out.
No, it's not your fault, that's why I didn't.
Well,
Yeah.
Quite well taken, and over draft minutes to you, then. Not a problem.
Good, thank you.
Okay, next we have the Department of Natural Resources letter, oh, that's our grant approval letter, so that's a good letter. And then also a letter from Carlisle Wortman telling us where they've been donating for Christmas. And that completes our correspondence. Next, we'll move on to citizens' comments on agenda items. And we do have a lot of citizens here, so is there anyone that would like to comment on a agenda item? Lois?
Lois Robbins, 5275 Sherwood Road. And I'd like to comment on HR 4674 that I think you'll be voting on later tonight. So here's the thing. I'm 88 years old. The study requested probably will not help me. By the time actions emerge from the information that it produces, I'll likely be either dead or somebody else's problem. Independent living, assisted living, nursing home, those are not options for me. And that's okay, because like most older residents of Brandon Township, I want to stay in my own home in the woods, right up to the bitter end. But at some point, I'll probably need help, as I did last fall when I was medically grounded from driving for 3 months. Thanks to friends and to the smart bus provided by our wonderful senior center, I was able to get to doctor's appointments and to Beaky's. But it gave me a taste of what it's like to lose your independence. And I worry about that. But I worry even more about my kids. Which one of them will have the dubious honor of becoming my caregiver? Will he have to give up his job? Will he lose his own source of income? Will his own family be disrupted? Will his own autonomy be compromised? My kids are baby boomers, part of that large lump that is moving through the boa constrictor. Perhaps your kids are part of that cohort too. What supports will be there for them and for their families as I get older, you get older, and they get older? What if one of your grandchildren becomes disabled? What kind of family support will be there for them? It's clear that Michigan will need some initiatives in the near future to accommodate some of the unmet needs of this expanding demographic and to avoid the economic impacts of our outdated care systems. Mounting problems require proactive solutions. As a citizen, wouldn't you want one of those solutions, or all of them, to be based on good data rather than on fuzzy hunches? Our state public servants will need reliable information as they craft and vote on effective, efficient solutions. Without this study, any solutions along these lines at the state level, no matter how well-intentioned, will be based on fuzzy hunches. We can see around corners. Why stumble around in the dark when we can turn on the lights? For my kids, for me, for your kids, please vote to support HR 4674 so that a study of long-term care in Michigan can be conducted. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I think you mumbled through the Carlisle Workman. when you were talking. I'm Rick Gibbons, you know who I am. What was that about in the correspondence?
This is for citizens' comments.
Huh? That's what I'm doing, I'm commenting. I want to know, you stumbled through it as you said it. What was it?
Okay, they don't have it.
Is it in
I
that
don't know.
packet?
It was how they donated at Christmas time. There's a public packet in the back.
And also, you
You should be able to look at it right
You
back
mentioned the
there.
bike path, too. I thought we voted 7-0 not to have a bike path, and here we are with the bike path coming up, rearing its head again, coming up in 15. What's this? And it just so happens Carlisle Wortman, if you look up their business, deals with lobbying for bike paths. What's going on? Do we not trust our boards, or what? Is there one person? Do we need recall petitions? I'm asking. Anybody got an answer?
I do, but I can't answer it during this period.
This is public comment, Rick.
Well, I just wondered, at the end of
It's not
correspondence,
discussion.
you said something, you kind of mumbled through it, and when you look up that person, they're a bicycle lobbyist group.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment this evening on agenda items? Yes.
Well, I was going to originally speak for Lois, but she felt this was so important that she came out and drove in this weather. First of all, I'd like to say a personal thank you to our fire department. A member of my family was the one that went out to U of M, and it was because of your excellent assessment of the injury
Cheryl.
that he got the care available. I'd also like to speak on the House bill that Lois was speaking on, and this is the study for long-term care. I've gone through 4 family members now that we had to do things like independent living, assisted living, nursing home, extended care at hospitals, and that type of thing. I was concerned about this study when Lois first brought it to me. I met with the people that are doing it. I asked specific questions. This is a nonprofit group that does these types of things. They're getting independent financing for it. They're simply asking for our support. I think the key things that they're going to do, I'm not so concerned with the solutions they're going to come up with. I'm concerned with the data that they're going to gather. They are going to gather data on all of the resources that are available. And I can tell you from personal experience, there isn't a one-stop shop to get that information. You reinvent the wheel every time you go through this, hours and hours of reinventing the wheel. So I think the first key thing is that they're going to figure out what is available out there. At least we will have that knowledge. And then they are going to identify gaps, which I think are important, because any of us that have gone through this, we can tell you what some of the gaps are that need to be fixed. And it may be private pay, it may be through health insurance companies, it may be through Medicare or Medicaid. I don't know what the answer is, but I think until we get the data, we can't figure that out. So I think that's the importance of this study. We're simply asking for your support. We're not asking for any money or anything like that. Just to say, yes, this community supports you to do this study, and let's see what they come up with. I think it's a worthwhile endeavor.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the agenda items? Yes.
Cheryl Rohr, 1765 Hummer Lake Road. I don't know if this works with your agenda rules and whatnot, but due to the nature of the way you do things and have us make comments on things you haven't discussed yet, I'm just going to go with what I got to say, and you can listen. Basically, I have some questions too, which I know this is rhetorical because you can't answer me because there's no room for logical debate. But I'm going to say I have 8 kids and 5 of them are teenagers, and I'm going to say to this board what I say to them. What part of no do you not understand? And I mean that seriously.
I never say that.
Seriously. Seriously, okay? We're talking, why are you going to DNR meetings about bike paths going down M15, which, the last time I checked, that goes through Brandon Township. Brandon Township does not have money. Brandon Township does not want to pay for this crap. We have made it clear, and if you think that it's a great thing, you're not representing the people. Also, if Carlisle Wortman website, this is on their website, what is your vision for your community? Do your citizens understand and share that vision? How will you find and manage the resources to achieve your vision? This isn't your vision. It's supposed to be ours. And the majority of the people have told you what they want. And you are to represent us. So again, what part of no do you not get? And why are we back here again? 7-0. Numbers don't lie. So I'm making my comments now. I'll stick around to see if I need to make some more. But since I said, I can't comment on something you haven't discussed yet, that's where we're at.
Thank you. We're off the beaten path a little bit. Trails is not on the agenda, and so if you. Okay. We're going. I'm just saying, at the end of the meeting, we'll have time for citizens' comments on anything, but at this point, we would like to keep it to agenda items, so you can speak to Carlisle Wortman. They are on the agenda. That would be okay, but anyone else for agenda items? Okay. Seeing none, we'll continue with our agenda. We have one item of discussion, and that would be my report on the MISGP grant, which has to do with the invasive species management. So on October 5th, 2015, Brandon Township Board of Trustees voted to participate with the Oakland County Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area in the submittal of the 2015 grant application to the Midwest Invasive Species Grant Program. The grant application was successful, and funds were used to treat swallowwort and phragmites on public and private property in Brandon Township. So in the process of this grant, a SISMA coordinator was hired, a strategic plan was written, and the grant covered a 2-year project. And I've outlined here the funding. $9,625 in grant funding was allocated to Brandon Township, with an additional $4,968 coming from the Road Commission for Oakland County funds. And we used that to treat phragmites in the road right-of-way and also swallowwort on private property. Our contribution was $1,000. Well, we allocated up to $1,000 in cash and $4,116 in in-kind services. The in-kind services was taken from my participation in that grant, so all I had to do was submit my cost per hour, and they accepted that, so that was pretty reasonable. So what took place in April of 2016, we had a presentation on invasive plants for the community. In the spring of 2016, swallowwort was treated in the road right-of-way. And then 4.5 acres of swallowwort was also treated on private property in 2016. They took out a DNR A&C permit for Brandon Township. Then in the fall of 2016, we treated 5 acres of phragmites on public and private property, and 1.5 acres of phragmites in the road right-of-way. We then had a treatment site at the library where we posted a sign, and we also had a community presentation, and that was last year in July. And we also, last year, retreated the areas that were treated in 2016. So I just put a little chart here for the board, and I just wanted to let everyone know that even though the amounts aren't exact to what was allocated, the grant was given to the SISMA as a whole, so it kind of was a give and take type of thing. So I just wanted to know, did anyone have any questions regarding the report or comments?
Good job.
Okay. All right, thank you. So that concludes our discussion, which there wasn't really much discussion, just a report.
I was trying to figure out what we were going to discuss.
Well, I figured, we've been doing this for a couple years, and the grant is winding up, so I wanted to make sure the board knew all that occurred on it. So we'll move on to our consent agenda. On our consent agenda, we have a regular meeting minutes of January 8th, 2018, regular bills in the amount of $10,882.57, prepays in the amount of $225,009.77, township benefits from payroll account of $3,143.48, trustee timesheets in the amount of $891. Are there any concerns or comments on the consent agenda tonight? Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by,
Can I interrupt just a minute? Thank you, Lois, for what you had to say tonight.
Oh.
Thank you. Sorry.
okay. I have a motion by trustee Marshall, and it was seconded by trustee Cordella to approve the consent agenda as presented. And seeing there's no discussion, let's do a roll call, please.
DePalma,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnell,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. So we can move right on to our new business, which is the resolution of House Bill 4674.
That's not new business. That's
Unfinished business, I'm sorry. Thank you. So this was brought to the board at our last meeting. There were questions to Rebecca, I think is her name. And hopefully everyone's questions got answered. One of the questions was how much of their budget was the cost of the study. And she is saying that she thinks the study will cost approximately $400,000. And they have a budget of $24.7 billion. When I did the math, I came out to that was 0.0016% of the total budget. I don't believe her math is correct.
Can we ask Cheryl to come back up to the podium now?
You have questions for Cheryl as far as?
Well, she has pertinent information on this topic.
She does?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have information, Cheryl? She doesn't know. Maybe.
I didn't get to.
Okay.
It's interesting. I wanted to call Cheryl today. I didn't get a chance because I was at my own mother's house discussing long-term
long-term health
care. But in the meantime, I did get to speak to her right before the meeting. Cheryl, can you tell me what you told me earlier about actually where this $500,000 to $750,000 is coming from? It's not coming from the taxpayers of state of Michigan, correct?
No, it isn't.
That's a big difference for me.
Yes.
This is they're really just asking us to support a study that nonprofit groups are going to pay for.
Yes.
Oh, well, Rebecca didn't point that out
No,
last
she
week.
I know.
didn't, and that makes all the difference for me.
Yeah, that was one of my
No,
major
this is being
concerns was it was
funded by third
taxpayers'
party.
money.
It is not taxpayer money.
Really?
Right.
I wonder why she didn't let us know that.
Do you know?
Where
and-
does it state that at?
I don't know, but that was one of my questions to her. I met with her previous to your meetings. When those first told me about it, I was concerned, so we sat down, had a meeting, and I got most of my questions answered.
Because I didn't find anything like that on the website.
I didn't
Yeah,
either.
I didn't either.
So this is like news to me.
I don't have it in front of me, but she gave us a list of who was going to be doing the funding. And it wasn't me, so, as a taxpayer.
Can you say what kind of groups? Do
It
you
was
remember?
across the board. I mean, some of it sounded like it was pretty related to healthcare. You know, some probably Big Pharma and Blue Cross and that kind of stuff. I don't care who's financing it as long as we get some good data out of it. But it was, it was my understanding that it was not taxpayer money.
That was my first concern was that, and I know you called her up. If you want to finish, then I'll
Well,
do my
no, it's
second
just
concern.
that
I had
I-
two
They,
concerns.
this
voiced
is
those
a group,
last
it's a
month.
nonprofit. I don't believe it's a 501c3, which is like a charity nonprofit. I assume it's probably like a Blue Cross type nonprofit, but they can take donations and that type of thing. But they are out getting grant funding for this.
The who was funding it was my one concern if taxpayers were. And my second concern was, are they looking to make it mandatory to the state like they kind of did with healthcare became mandatory for people? Are they looking for it to become mandatory that we have to carry long-term insurance? That's another major issue that I
That
don't
was
know if I
not
can
my
support.
feel from our discussion.
I believe.
I mean, the big thing is,
Just a study.
it was kind of what she explained it to me was it was three parts. The first part of it was obviously to see what is available now. You know, what resources, how do we pay for them, all that right now. What the gaps are, what people are finding are not available that they need. And then they're going to come up with some suggested solutions. None of which have, and you know, I mean, they're not legislation or anything like that.
Right.
It's just solutions that they're going to put out there based on the data.
Okay. No, I think it's very much needed. I mean, my, family I have older family too, but I concern about something coming into play like the way healthcare did where it becomes mandatory and it hurts people because some people can afford to pay for long-term care, some people can't, some people just have to take
Oh,
the
I
chance.
understand, yeah. I mean, I've had family members on Medicaid, I've had family members that were total private pay.
Right.
You know, across the board. But I did not find that there was any type of resource where you could go and get all the information you needed in one place. You can't,
There's not.
Right.
no.
But if you speak to Lois, obviously, if you can tell her, she did, what she said tonight was very good.
It was.
She did,
It's very moving.
yeah.
It was.
I appreciate the additional information, but from my perspective, I'm still dealing with hearsay because I still don't know
Right.
who's financing it.
Yeah, and
I mean,
I
I-
didn't
'cause
know
I
you needed
understand
that
your-
information, but we could have
I
gotten.
didn't, well, you surprised me with that information,
Yeah.
and Kathy, can we not can we still push this one? Because if it's truly just being funded by a nonprofit, then I'd like to make the motion, but since we don't know for sure, can we ask that final question?
Yeah, was that in
'Cause I don't
Rebecca's?
understand, what
I
is
can
great-
get some specifics from Rebecca, and I may have some stuff
because
at home even
here's my
on that.
concern is I'm hoping you're right, but if you are, then why does this have to be a House bill at all? Why do
Right.
they need?
Right,
And
yeah,
that's my
exactly.
concern is why is this a House bill that's really completely funded by nonprofit?
And it's
They don't
just a
need-
study.
They don't need the state of Michigan involved at
Approve
all to
it,
do
yeah.
that. So that's my one gray
Okay.
area.
And I
Right.
can,
Okay.
Right.
or I can connect you with Rebecca, and you guys can
Sure.
get the specific
Sure.
information.
Yeah,
you
I'm
need.
still trying to figure out why it's a House bill and
If you could put
why they need our
together
support.
some
Why they need
spec-
our support. I mean,
can put
they usually
together a
don't ask
list
for our
of
support with
specific
any bill.
The House bills never ask us for our support.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
they do. We've had them come.
But that's not the norm.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, I mean, to be perfectly honest, whether our support will make or break it,
You're right, but you know what?
but I think it's just,
This is an important topic, and I think we all agree it's an important topic.
Yes.
What we weren't sure is, who's behind it.
Sure.
We agree with the idea, but we need to see who's behind it. That's what we're trying to figure out.
And I'll be happy to do some research for you if you want to get some specific questions together.
This is what she gave.
Just kind of confirming what you've told us already is really what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Yeah. Can we postpone this again? Or can I make a motion to
Well,
postpone?
you can make a motion to postpone, sure.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to postpone this until next month when we can find out just the additional information. Is it correct that this $500,000 to $750,000 is going to be funded by nonprofit / donation, or is this being funded by Michigan taxpayer dollars?
You want all that on there?
You
No,
just
not
want,
really.
your motion is to postpone to our
Postpone.
March regular meeting?
Yes.
If we can get the answers.
I have a motion by trustee Broughton to postpone this to our regular meeting in March. And then, I need a second on that motion. Okay, so I have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any other discussion on this? I mean, my feeling is I think this is very important either way. I think it's something that needs to be done. I've been going through my parents as they aged, and they were very lucky to be in their home. But they could afford having care come in, and that isn't an option for a lot of people. And I know that our aging population, their first choice is to stay in their home, and I think that this study would be well worth it, even if it's not funded by private information or a private group,
I don't.
because it's very minute part of the budget, if in fact that's what it is. But I don't have any problem with bringing it back again next month.
Can we reach out to Rebecca one more time to see what she gives us versus
Well-
what she gave to Cheryl? Like, ask her, hey, this is what we took from it, this is what Cheryl took from it, what do you,
I
what
want
is
it in writing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking to her, Cheryl. Appreciate it.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to postpone this item to our March regular meeting, and that's by trustee Broughton and seconded by trustee Marshall. There's no other comments. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. We'll postpone this again. Okay, first item of new business tonight is from the clerk, and it's in regard to hiring Rosalind.
Yes. So I handed out a new revised, everything that I changed is in yellow, so that you could tell, you wouldn't have to read it word for word to see what did change. The hours for Rosalind, right now, she's currently working 20 hours, an average of 20 hours per week, and I'm asking that she work 24 hours per week, as we have 2 elections coming up. She's also being trained on CDBG, which is our grant funding through HUD. Big job, big undertaking, but I think she's gonna really be a big help. Plus, she's interested in also working in elections more than just at the precincts and doing office work with it, so as you'll see down below, I've moved money around without asking for any increase in funds. Any questions?
Would you like to make a motion?
I'll be glad to make a motion to approve the following budget amendments as follows. Moving $3,800 from elections fill-in into the permanent part-time election position. In the clerk department, move from $6,500 from clerk fill-in to the permanent part-time position. And lastly, in cemetery, moving $5,600, 52 of it into permanent part-time out of fill-in, with $400 going towards a FICA. 'Cause
Second.
Oh, to hire Rosalind Blair as a permanent part-time employee, starting immediately for up to an average of 24 hours a week at the starting pay rate of $13.06 per our policy. With all the, so there's
So
actually
this
two
is
motions.
one motion together,
Correct,
kind of,
yes.
so we'll just put a and.
Yep.
All right. Is there any discussion or questions on this question before us? No, everybody's all good. Okay, I have a motion by Clerk Allen and it's seconded by Trustee Bratton to hire Rosalind Blair as a permanent part-time employee starting immediately for up to an average, better read the right one, of 24 hours per week at the starting hourly pay rate of $13.06 per our policy, and to approve the budget amendments as presented. Okay. All right, let's do a roll call, please.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnell,
Yes.
De Palma,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Wouldn't it be nice if we could get through everything that quickly?
Thank you very much.
We can.
All right. Next, we have another employee that we're bringing to the board to approve for part-time hire. It's Cynthia Hawkins, and Cynthia is here in the audience. If you do want to just stand up and
Do the queen wave.
yes, do the queen wave. All right. So Cynthia's been being trained, I think, for about a month in the building department. We also have the building director.
You can wave too, Bill.
Who is in support of this, and if anyone has any questions, I'm sure he would be happy to answer them.
They're not gonna make you dance.
But we're also looking to hire Cynthia for up to an average of 24 hours per week at the starting hourly pay rate of $13.06. And this is for a position that the board approved back in November, I think?
Yes.
Okay. So are there any questions? Would someone like to make the motion that's suggested?
So moved.
Support.
And that was from you, right, Bob? Okay. I have a motion by Trustee Marshall, and it is seconded by Treasurer Darnell to hire Cynthia Hawkins as permanent part-time employee effective February 6, 2018, for up to an average of 24 hours per week at the starting hourly pay rate of $13.06 per hour policy, and paid from the 2018 budget line item 101-3802-0702-380. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnell,
Yes.
De Palma,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries.
See you tomorrow.
Welcome on board, yes.
Don't be
Thank
late.
She's been very punctual.
Very punctual.
All right, next on our agenda.
Today.
Next on our agenda is the rezoning of parcel 0319-327-018. This went to the Planning Commission.
Is it 018
I know-
or 017?
Well, I'm reading here. This says
17.
018. Does it
This
say
says-
17 on
This
here?
one says 17 on here.
Okay, the agenda needs to be corrected to 017.
Good catch, Bob.
Which one does? The agenda hasn't changed. Oh.
So we have the building director here to answer questions. Also, the applicant extended an invitation to view the property from his property. I don't know if anyone took him up on that. We also have a good overhand drawing, and I don't know. Mr. Denon, since you're here, would you like to speak to this?
Just as a matter of procedure, a rezoning is similar to a zoning ordinance amendment, follows the same path. And it's a rezoning of a property is a change actually in the zoning maps. So the request tonight is for first reading to rezone this property from RE to R1B and change the map subsequent to this zoning change. This all goes pursuant to our ordinance as well as the state laws under the Zoning and Enabling Act. This has been before the Planning Commission. It received a 4-3 vote for approval. I believe that you got a copy of Carlisle Wortman's report referencing the fact that this is in the township's master plan as being R1B. So it follows that course, this is a very important part of that course, because if it's not, then there could be issues with it. But it was that property that was RE previous, he's asking to go to an R1B, is what the master plan called it out to be. Just as a point of interest, at the Planning Commission meeting, there was a letter from a neighbor that was opposed to this, and there was also a person that spoke opposed to it. However, opposition, as far as Carlisle Wortman and myself are concerned, doesn't really have a basis in that the property is already on the master plan as R1B.
If that's the case, now this is where I will concede that the Planning Commission knows much more about hopefully they know a little bit more about the ins and outs of this than we do. But there was a split vote, 4-3. What was the basis for the 3 dissensions?
I only talked to one of those members. I didn't talk to the other 2. But one member that I did talk to, because I was curious myself, because I didn't see a legal basis for denying the vote. All the parts of the puzzle are there for the rezoning to take place. That person applied her previous past experience on her attendance of the Zoning Board of Appeals. You can probably figure out who her is, right? I mean,
I just said that. I was like, I know who it is.
Okay.
I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
That member,
Right.
Well, it's in our notes who says no, though.
yeah, it does. Who voted no, who voted yes. She applied the criteria to be granted a variance, which means you have to prove a practical difficulty or a hardship or something like that. In a rezoning case, that isn't the case. On rezoning, all you have to do is know that you are meeting the criteria for a proper rezoning. Now, the neighbors, as I got it, were concerned because under R1B, that property technically could be split up into 4 or possibly 5 lots
Right.
if you deal with just area.
Right.
But there's more to having a buildable lot than just having the right area.
But
put it in
Bill,
a Have to
have-
when I'm looking at this, though,
Yeah.
the property that he also owns, which I'm assuming is the property directly to the east of that, right? And that's still,
No, actually directly
west.
to the west.
North-
well, I'm looking
That's
at
what
it.
I'm trying to figure out. Which
I'm looking
property
at it-
does he own?
Is it this wedge-shaped piece up here?
Yes.
And
He
it's
owns,
just that wedge
he owns the
shape.
web shade at the back of the
Wait,
rectangle.
Which one does he own? I was trying to. This one? This one?
Hang on, I'll get it.
Yeah, Bill, I was trying to figure out which one he owned and I couldn't figure that out. Is it this
When I
one?
approach, that is.
No, up
Right
one,
here,
over
just
to
this.
the right.
This one?
My concern is
It's
more
just this one.
He owns
This one
the
right here?
property
Yeah.
here.
property
Okay.
by that.
Once we change that, could then this be
This one?
changed
Yeah.
also?
Oh, he owns this one
This is
too.
my concern.
The answer to your question
He owns this one too.
is,
I'm asking about this one
yes,
here.
it can be, because it is also in the master plan as R1B.
So essentially, what could happen moving down the road if we make this change is that this other property, and then that could be a whole subdivision there.
No.
Well,
No, because you have to have green land.
I'm just, if
let's
we
ask Bill,
change,
he's the
that's
expert.
what I'm asking. I'm not saying, I'm asking.
The possibility is always there. If somebody bought that and wanted to demolish a house, they could actually develop that land as a PUD under the R1B rules. But keep in mind, and part of the whole discussion that I want to bring forward to you on this case is the appellant has requested this R1B, but has proposed only 2 lots. Even though the possibility is there that by square footage he could get 4, one of the conversations I had with the applicant was, you better run down and talk to the health department, because they are not issuing septic permits on any less than 1 acre parcels.
And how many acres?
And he
is
went
that?
down there and he came back and goes, thank you very much for
Again-
telling me that, because they won't.
Right, interesting, but I'm always concerned about existing homeowners and how we're changing their landscape. They bought house, under a certain set of assumptions
This is
of what
his
the
street.
area around them was going to be like, and now we're changing that, and I just want to be careful about, I have the 2
he's
people
gonna
that
take down that
complained, and there were 3, so I'm not
Mm-hmm.
alone, 3 dissented. I'm concerned that, yes, again, you bring up the septic issue, but this could also turn into a neighborhood where they engineer a septic system for a whole neighborhood, yes? Or a small
They could.
neighborhood, I should say. I'm concerned that there's property owners adjacent that we're changing the rules on them. They bought a house under this certain set of assumptions that this is the way things were, and now we're changing it for them. And yet, and we say, well, yes, but Scott, in the master plan, it was always this way. Well, if that's the case, then we really shouldn't even come before the board. It should just be changed, right?
Actually, when that was up in the master plan, is when those people should have been proactive relative to that.
Yeah.
Because the master plan really does dictate what the future land use of properties is going to be. So when this is the important part of going through the master plan process. Everybody kind of blows away and goes, I'm not dealing with that.
More than you know.
No, that's the important
I
time to
agree.
be dealing with it, because you lay the groundwork for what can happen to that land in the future.
Very much
Now,
so.
I just want to caution you that if you don't follow your own master plan, you open the township up to lawsuits.
Right.
And I've already had this conversation with our attorney relative to that. And his comment was, if they turn it down, that's why I'm employed.
But that's
Not
interesting,
a good
though.
basis for that.
You're
so.
right, but that's good to know, because really, essentially,
Yeah.
yes, we're really being asked to rubber stamp something that's really already been done,
Right.
correct?
I wouldn't say rubber stamp, but there's a process it all has to go through. It went through the first step of the public hearing, which is handled by the Planning Commission. Then any ordinance amendment, no matter what it is, has to come to the board, not just once, but twice. So this will come back to you again. But I'm saying to you that the applicant has had numerous discussions with me. He started about this a whole different direction. And I pretty much told him he didn't have a basis for what he wanted to do. And then it moved into the rezoning process, which is how the system is supposed to operate.
Bill, you have to dumb this down for me. Okay, so he owns currently this wedge piece here.
Correct.
And this piece outlined in blue.
Correct.
So what he wants to do is he wants to attach basically the top portion of this blue to the existing wedge shape.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because he wants to build a structure of some sort.
But there's already a
Right.
structure there.
No, I made him tear it down before I let him apply for the zoning change,
That
because you
structure's
can't,
gone.
you
Okay.
can't have a violation to
All
go
right, so
that process.
so
But in my picture,
combined,
it's there, so.
so combined, how much property would that be, those pieces there?
2.5.
Is it 1 acre you're attaching? to
Okay,
yours?
and that falls into
Attaching
the,
a half an acre, it looks like.
that falls into the
Gotcha.
1B.
R1B, right?
Right. Well, but
Okay.
the subdivision was already developed R1B. That whole subdivision, that whole
right.
parcel of land
So then
next
this,
to what he wants to rezone is already R1B.
Right.
And so the remaining portion of this property is how many acres?
2.
2.
So it falls under the 2.5 for the RE. That's why he wants to go to the R1B.
Right.
Right.
Well,
So
no,
he can
well,
conceivably,
let's back
It's
up one
two-
more
it's 2.5
step in the
acres.
process.
but he's going to be taking half an acre, attaching it to the other.
Right, that's
So what's gonna
after it's
happen to the
rezo-
2 acres?
So
rezoned.
here,
Right.
What happens to the
I'm
2
I'm just
acres?
trying to figure out
He
the.
wouldn't be
the-
able to do that if it wasn't rezoned.
Right, no, I get it. I'm just trying to figure out what the long range plan
and we went down
is.
that way. But his first question to me was, I want to attach this to my house because I want this. And I said, that'll never get approved because we have an ordinance that says you cannot have a property that's deeper than it is wide.
It's non-conforming.
And all of a sudden you run into property hooked together that didn't work for him.
So he owns all this property anyway. He just sort of wants to jerry-rig a little bit so he can actually put a
Well,
structure
actually,
on
he
it.
is,
for-
it
okay,
isn't
all right.
part of the approval process, but he has already submitted to
All
us.
right, I just wanted to make sure that's what I understood when I read everything.
Well,
that I
wait, what's
wasn't-
going to happen to the 2 acres then after he joins the half a acre?
I'll show you right now.
Okay.
It's right
Because
here.
he's already
This
spent
is
the
his
thousands of dollars it took
She's
to get
saying
a
what's he
survey.
doing with these 2.
But he's already
So he's
done
going to
a
then split them into
survey.
1
Oh,
acres.
that's the other
And they
one
can
behind
say
it?
1
Okay.
acre.
Right.
Right, we got that
You
one.
should have this in your
Yep,
information.
yep.
Yep.
Where his lot is back here, the house he lives in is here. The piece he wants to take off of this parcel is attached. And then parcels B and C would be 1 acre parcels. And parcel B would be accessed through a private drive, which the ordinance allows,
Off of
out to
parcel
Last
C.
Road.
Right.
This- Could he do something different? Yeah, he could, but he's spent a lot of money just to have this done. I really believe his intention is to follow through with it, but we can't make him do that.
Right. So R1B is allowed to be what size?
Half acre.
Half acre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's allowed to be 20,000 square feet.
Right, so he could have 4 homes there, but it
Yes.
looks like they're doing.
But yeah, we're back to
without a
that.
sewer.
He can't
But
get
then
a
you can't do
septic.
a sewer. So a sewer, you can't,
Septic.
or septic, you need at least an acre is what they're saying
Right.
for a 3-bedroom house. So that's
Right.
why then it's going to be 2 lots there.
Yeah,
What about, you had just said, Bill, that he owns this zoned RE. What's that? How much his land is there and what's going to be done with that? Anything?
That's part of,
no,
that's
I-
part of our existing resident, that's how we bought Dunwoody, 1620 Dunwoody was it, we didn't know at the time, we just thought it was 3 acres.
Sir, could you stand up to the microphone, please? Thank you.
When we first purchased 1620 Dunwoody, it was sold to us as a 3-acre lot. The day we closed on it, that was the first time we realized that it was 2 parcels. One was 2.5 acres and one was a half acre. But to us, that they're always combined. And for building on where there's that pond, according to the health department, you can't because of the water being right there. And then when you put the 20% setback rules in, there's just not enough room.
Right, so that's just going to stay as is.
Right, and the same goes with the parcel that I'm trying to divide. The reason I left it in 1 acre, the health department told me that I could never build any structure on them if they were smaller than that. I know you guys say there's 20,000 square feet's allowed, but by Oakland County Health Department, they will not let you build on that. Nor would they let me put a private road in there, because Bill told me to make all these calls, which I did, and I found out that Oakland County wouldn't let that even happen.
Okay, thank you. So my other question is for Bill. What else, I know there's the acre size between RE and R1B. Is there anything else major between RE and R1B that we need to?
Size of lot.
The size of lot, okay. Which is the acre, okay.
And road frontage.
RE is 2.5 acres.
RE is 2.5 acre, right, I knew that, and R1B. So, but there's not major rules of what else they can do on the land, like stuff like chickens or horses or any of that type of stuff?
Actually, there is.
Actually, your accessory building ordinances changes when you go from RE to R1B.
Things
So
get
Bill,
more
can you
Okay.
answer my, I didn't give you a
Things
chance.
get more strict, so it will actually get more strict for,
R1B has a lot stricter rules.
okay, so it will be more strict there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The property that's directly, this is the first question I asked, the property that's directly to the east of this,
Right.
east is what I meant.
Right.
On this, what we're looking at here, on this color printout, it says it's zoned RE, but really according to the master plan, this is also R1B, correct?
Correct.
And that's the only one that's left as RE. If you look, this is all commercial, and this is
Right.
all R1B all around it.
I'm
It'll be the only
trying to
one
figure out,
left.
yes, we know what a particular landowner wants to do right now. I'm trying to think what could happen 5 years from now when they decide to sell and move on. And then the other homeowners around there are still kind of stuck now with what we've done.
It's only really one. All the rest are R1B.
We have a master plan change coming up next year. We'll probably start it near the end of this year. If those people are very concerned, then they need to go to
Yes.
the master plan meetings and
Okay.
voice their opinions.
Okay.
That's the time to really get it changed. Because once it's on the master plan, the township board really has to have a really significant reason why they're gonna not approve it.
And that's
Because
all you
we've
need to
already
say for
approved the master
tonight.
plan that says it can be that.
That's right.
Can
I
we
agree.
ask Chris why Chris, you're our person between the two
Yep.
boards. Can we
Why did I
ask?
say no?
Yeah.
I said no because of the very reasons that I believe it was Mrs. Ferrara had a very convincing statements throughout the conversation. If you notice through the draft of who said what, I didn't say a whole lot of anything. I listened because I was in a learning process between the differences between R1B and RE and who had what and who could do what and so on and so forth. And I kind of took Donna's stance that, the potential exists that possibly, this could be
Okay.
misused. Okay. Now I'm hearing a little bit more information, which, I'm kind of like thinking that, okay, if it's 1 acre, it's got to have this, and it's restricted by Oakland County, and it's got to have, other restrictions on it. So now I feel like a little bit better about it. Okay, so that's where I was at.
Okay, thank you.
May I say something else? I own 5.5 acres. My current resident has a 1.5 car garage. In the city, it shows up as 2, but I haven't talked to Bill Thompson yet, the assessor, to see what's gonna happen based on tonight. I have nowhere to put any type of machinery. That I bought a zero-turn to cut all the grass and a log splitter. I got pictures. There's no more room in my garage. So I need to buy like a tractor to help take care of this much land. I have nowhere to put it. Absolutely no. I can't go to either side of my house because of setbacks and that. And when we did buy the house, there were fences up on these properties. Those fences were not even close to on my property to the north. And then the stable fence that went around that old barn that I knocked down made us to believe that was part of 016 and 002. It was not. And then the corner of 017 that I'm asking to rezone is literally 40 feet out our bedroom window. It is literally right there, and it impedes on 002 by 165 feet, which is almost half of our backyard. So that we're trying to protect our primary residents and have a
Right.
place to put an outbuilding.
Gotcha.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Bill, I have a question. I know we're just here to do a rezoning from R8 to R1B. But in looking at the configuration of how the split would be, isn't that a non-conforming configuration?
In what way?
Because it's all, how do you figure length to depth, and it's like not all straight, it's kind of
It'll be
curved?
added on to the piece that exists. So the total piece, when it's done, has to meet the width to depth ratio.
Because if you look at, okay, so on this picture, if you look at the way it comes out this way and then it cuts back across, or is he going to add this other parcel and it's all becomes one?
It'll still make it.
I have a drawing that shows that I stay inside of the 1 to 4. It should be in the packet. I have this. Because it is 35 feet off of the road. And I'm
didn't get that.
approximately 100 feet wide. And from this point to that point, I'd be 300 feet deep. So it stays inside
Okay.
the 1 to 4 ratio.
And thank you.
Yeah, we've already been through this.
I was just questioning the irregular shape,
Yeah,
and
it will be
that's
an irregular
okay?
shape, and that's not optimal, It's better to keep properties in more rectangles than it is to turn them into trapezoids or other weird configurations. However, in this particular case, I don't know that there's a better solution to it. He approached this in about 3 or 4 different ways, and this is really the only one that really works for him.
Okay, thank you.
If we're amenable, I'd make the motion to accept the introduction of first reading, as stated.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Marshall, and it was seconded by treasurer Darnell to accept for introduction, first reading, an application for an ordinance amendment to change zoning and map reclassifying parcel 0319327017 from RE Rural Estate to R1B Single Family Residential per the attached rezoning documents. I just wanted to say that in years past, a similar situation came before the board, and our attorney recommended that because of it being in our master plan, that we would really be putting the township in jeopardy by not following our master plan. And so I think this is a pretty similar situation. Any other discussion or comments? Okay, I have a motion again, and that was by trustee Marshall and seconded by treasurer Darnell, as I just read. And we'll do a roll call, please.
Burton,
Yes.
Darnell,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
So we'll be bringing this back to our March meeting?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. Oops. Okay, next we have a resolution on poverty guidelines. So this is protocol for our Board of Review that we approve a resolution on our poverty guidelines. And if you turn over to the back, on the back side of the page is what we are suggesting the poverty guidelines go to. And these figures were recommended by the Board of Review because they're the ones that hear the poverties come in December and July, and also in March. And then on the separate piece of paper are the federal poverty income guidelines. So what we're asking is to be a little bit more forgiving than the federal guidelines. And I think the rest is pretty self-explanatory.
I'll make that motion
Support.
for the resolution, I should say.
You're making a motion to approve the
Resolution
resolution
as
as
presented.
presented?
Yes.
Okay.
Trying to avoid having to read it all. I trust the people that put the numbers together, and I trust Bill. So,
Okay. And that was supported by Treasurer Darnell? Does anyone have any questions or concerns on the resolution in front of you? No? Okay. I have a motion by trustee Bratton, and it is second by treasurer Darnell to approve the resolution as presented. The resolution for Brandon guidelines or poverty exemptions. Do we want to say what the resolution is about, or just, no?
Presented.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to approve the resolution as presented. Any questions or concerns? Roll call, please.
Darnell,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton, Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Next on our agenda, we have cleanup days contract. The cleanup days that we're suggesting would be June 16th and August 25th, and that's at the Township Park, as we've been doing for the last several years. I've got a chart here that shows how many loads we handle there, and last year was a record year with 247 loads taken at the park, and then we also are able to send some people over to the CMI location that Bedrock owns.
Is that, when you say loads, is that the number of cars or vehicles that showed up, or number of dumpsters that they took out?
Number of vehicles.
Well,
Like
I'm
it
just
could
wondering, 'cause
be a trailer,
I
or it
clearly
could be
the
a
numbers that
vehicle.
went, you know, because when I first moved out here, obviously I had to do a lot of work on my shabby house, and it used to be at the school. And I remember driving there on those Saturdays, and there would be lines almost all the way out onto M15, and I
That's
think it's
why
just
we
not.
take appointments.
Yeah, because it's just, well, but it was great. I thought it was great just to be able to get rid of all this junk. It must not get used as much as back then. And maybe we can do something to promote it a little bit more, because I think this is great. Again, keeping the stuff out of the back 40 or out of the ditches and anywhere else. And we can continue to discuss it, but I will make the motion to enter into and approve the 2018 cleanup, recycling, and refuse collection agreement with Bedrock Express Limited as presented.
Support.
I would like to mention one thing. Sure. That's all right. Heath Zeitz, who attends a lot of our meetings, had sent an email regarding this, like last spring or in the middle of the summer, that he thought it'd be a great idea for the people who don't have any way to get larger items, older people, that if we could find people with trailers that would volunteer their time to go to their homes, pick up it, and then get it taken care of. And he would be our #1 volunteer. So I told him I would mention it.
Sure.
So
That was nice.
Yep, that's good of him to do that. Another big difference between the high school and this is, we used to spend like $45,000 for that cleanup day, and this has been costing us under $10,000.
Well, that's a big difference.
And then we take appointments, which cuts down. It cuts down the line, so you're not waiting so long. And, I mean, we don't hold people to their appointment times, we just try to spread everybody. Just trying to.
Yeah, there was
trying to
one other
spread-
caveat on here that I don't think was in the past, that you're really only supposed to be bringing one vehicle load per day, right?
But we let.
Yeah, okay. Again, keeping it out of the ditches is fine with me.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay.
Some people even come 3 times.
But can we, I will help with this, when we get, I know we put it in the paper, and I saw it in the paper this last year, because I pulled the paper because I wanted to know when it was. But I'm gonna try to think of something that we can advertise this a little bit better.
We now have
We now have a
Facebook.
Facebook.
Well, that's one step, because
And
it
the
just.
webpage.
I don't,
And the
I don't know what the numbers were back in 96, 97, but it just seems like it was being used more. I'd like to make sure that everybody knows about it. Because as we've found, people don't really read the paper cover to cover, and even if they, sorry Shelby, but even if they do, they don't necessarily read the little blurb about cleanup days on page 27 or whatever.
for the cost of a half a sheet of paper from the township, we can put advertising in beakies. They'll put it into the grocery bags. You supply
Okay.
them the pile,
idea.
and Papa Bella's
Okay.
also will do that.
Okay,
So
Yeah, that's
you
a
just
good
gotta
idea.
line it up when you're gonna do it.
okay.
It's
Those are good ideas.
really easy.
The only thing is, this is just for township residents, and
Yes.
sometimes when you're
Yeah, exactly.
advertising that way.
Oh, I
you
agree.
You might,
Well, you make Brandon really big, Brandon Township.
And township only.
And you do require ID?
yes,
have
we
to- yeah.
check out their addresses when they call.
Okay.
And then they have to give us their names when they get there, and we mark them off the list, so.
Okay.
It works out good. Also on this contract, we beefed up the insurance requirements. In talking to our MMRMA, our insurance provider, they're recommending that we put this language in all our contracts, or most of all our contracts, so
Well, we're talking
That
about two
also
different things now.
changed.
Yes.
No,
Talk
in
about
the cleanup
In
contract.
the contract.
Okay.
Would be
You're
contract with-
requiring them to carry more insurance. Okay.
And Bedrock didn't have any issues with it.
No, they're good. I've sent that to them, and
Okay. They have
let me
enough
know that the dates are
covered.
good. Yep.
And their insurance is good and all that type.
Well, it's not that their insurance is different. It's
Oh.
more or less the way that they make us additionally insured.
Gotcha.
And that we go through their insurance first before we go to ours.
So I think Bedrock's good with all that.
It's kind of the execution of the insurance.
Okay.
All right, any questions or concerns about the contract? All right, I have a motion by trustee Broughton, and it is second by trustee Marshall, to enter into and approve the 2018 cleanup, recycling, and refuse collection agreement with Bedrock Express Limited as presented. So if there's no further discussion, roll call, please.
DePalma,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnell,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries. Unanimously. Okay, next is our MMRMA contract with our insurance provider. Does anybody have any questions on this?
Unfortunately, I have one question for you, Kathy. When's the last time that we've had somebody come in and review our holdings, if you will, to make sure that we're insuring everything properly?
That happened, was it last year or the year before? Where they actually sent somebody out and appraised our buildings.
Okay, that's good.
And we update every year. We have these orange binder or folders.
Okay, I just wanted to make
So all,
sure.
all the departments update their.
Okay. And as we know, this whole thing will change if we were to make a township home change as well. Obviously, there's gonna be a whole lot that would be different then. And we're gonna need to discuss.
The clerk's
Uh,
already gotten an estimate.
Oh,
on the
okay,
difference.
you're ahead of me. Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to make the suggested motion to approve the MMRMA renewal contract as presented and allow the supervisor to sign the contract as a member representative.
Support. Okay, any other questions or discussion? I have a motion by trustee DePalma, and it is seconded by clerk Allen, to approve the MMRMA renewal contract as presented and allow the supervisor to sign the contract as member representative. If there's no further discussion, roll call, please.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnell,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. We're being unanimous so far. Next is the Youth Assistance Executive Board. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the above executive, or the Executive Board and Board of Directors for 2018 as presented?
I'll make-
I'll second you, Dana.
I was gonna say, I'll make that motion. I think they do a great job for our community and for the students and children of our, youth of our community. So I appreciate everything they do.
Ditto.
Yep. My sentiments exactly. Any discussion on this? I have a motion by trustee DePalma, and it is seconded by trustee Broughton to approve the executive board and board of directors for 2018 as presented. I think we should add youth assistance in here, right?
Bob, I know you got to come up and speak for the village. Is there anything you want to say? We're going to approve it, but it.
What did you do?
I want to, hey, I'm glad to have him up here. I
really-
wanted to thank you, actually, as part of the reason for
I
it.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's
I'll
a
ask
couple
you a
of,
question. Should we put youth assistance in this motion?
correct.
So,
I'll make that
you'll
amended
make
motion.
that amended motion,
Yes.
and do you second that?
Yes,
Scott?
yes, very much.
I wanted who won the bet in the back about whether you're gonna have to get up and say anything. Was it?
I almost lost. But I wanted to make sure you understood that I was the developer of that 700-page annual report.
that
he made reference to, so. No, Youth assistants, actually, Candy Allen and Shelby, they're on that list. I've already been to the village. I'm beat Groveland, and the school is next Monday. Get approved, and it goes to Circuit Court to the Family Division for their final approval. And we're basically done with that unless any one of these members change or leaves and we replace them. Then it's just a single approval that needs to be done with that. But I give you a long list of what. And that list is not complete, I can tell you that much for sure. There's a few other projects that we're right in the middle of. And really thank you for your sponsor fee and the CDBG that we get out of the clerk's office. And in March, we have our annual sponsor breakfast, which you'll be getting an invitation to. And I'll try to keep our annual report to resemble this. So.
Thank you. All right, I have an amended motion by Trustee DePalma, and it is seconded by Trustee Broughton, to approve the Brandon Youth Assistance Executive Board and Board of Directors for 2018 as presented. Okay. You don't need a roll call on this, do you? No. Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. All right, next is a policy amendment. I'm proposing that we add a couple words into our policy 2.2 wage schedules. There's nowhere in our policy that allows us to pay our ordinance enforcement person, which is the person that picks up the signs throughout the township, or if I have a handyman come in and work on the buildings, I don't really have a place or a category to put him in for payment. So I'm just asking that we add that to the janitorial provision, which allows us to pay the person between $11.90 and $15.30 per hour based on qualifications and years of service at the discretion of the township supervisor.
Is that where we always kind of paid them out of, even though they weren't listed there?
Kind of.
Or the range?
Well,
I guess the range is what I'm looking for. Is that the range?
He's
we
in
always
that
pay?
range. We have been paying him $13 an hour, and that's probably because that's what the rec department pays him when he works for the rec department.
Gotcha.
I'll make the motion.
Where would the money come from?
Well, the money for ordinance enforcement comes out of the Ordinance Enforcement Cost Center, and the money for handyman, if he's working on buildings, comes out of the Building Cost Center.
And there's money in
it's
those
not gonna
cost centers, right? Sorry, Candy.
Yes.
I just want to make sure it's not coming out of the janitorial cost center.
Gotcha.
No,
Okay,
only for the janitor.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, someone made a motion.
I did, yeah.
Sorry, Scott.
To approve the proposed policy amendment as presented.
I'll support.
Are there any questions or concerns? Okay, I have a motion by Trustee Broughton, and it is seconded by Clerk Allen to approve the proposed policy amendment as presented. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously again. Okay, one more. We'll see if we can get 100% unanimous.
Don't jinx it.
Don't push it.
All right, next, let's change the heading on this. This should be budget amendment for the treasurer's office, not building department.
I was curious why it said building here and then treasurer there.
It's called cut and paste and forgetting.
Gotcha.
Okay, so when we prepared the budget for 2018, I failed to key in the $2,100 that the treasurer asked for operating supplies. So we have to make a budget amendment in order for her to purchase, well,
Ink and pens, or my girls will just go home.
But it's also for any extra ancillary network equipment, or just anything that you need there in the office, right?
Well, that's just that line item. It's
Okay.
just
That's just
office
operating, yeah, that's just
supplies.
office
Okay.
supplies.
We have some discretion to move within our cost centers, but that's kind of a large amount, so we're asking that we amend the statutory sales tax line to increase that revenue to compensate for the spending, additional spending.
Will we
And
get that additional revenue, though?
yes,
That's where
so
this
on the
comes in.
back,
Gotcha.
you can see that this is comes with our constitutional revenue sharing check. The amount at the top, the 194,882, that's our constitutional part of it. And then the bottom two figures, the 6057, it was our statutory. And they had let us know that their estimate for the year is like $36,000 basically for statutory revenue sharing. And when we went to the Capitol Conference, they kind of led us to believe that statutory revenue sharing is going strong and they're going to keep giving it to us. In years past, it was like, well, this is a 1 year only type of thing. And since they're on the October calendar year, I only budgeted for 3/4 of a year. So chances are we'll get the whole $36,000 that we've gotten in the past three years, I believe. And then also, they threw in this extra $1,858 that they'll include bi-monthly going forward, that also I didn't budget for. So we have some money there that we can add to our budget. And the 1,858 is supposed to be replacing part of the personal property tax that we lost when they changed the way that they do that. Because that was an unfunded mandate that they tend to give us from time to time. Okay, any questions on this?
I do have one question.
Sure.
Sorry. But in the budget, in the cost center for the treasurer, there is no money budgeted for office supplies.
That's that line item.
That's why we're trying to correct it, right here.
This says operating supplies.
But is it
Oh.
the same number?
No, both operating, office supplies and operating supplies are at zero budgets. All the other departments have both.
Is this office or operating?
I think it's operating.
Well, you don't have anything in operating and you have nothing in office
Does she use
supplies.
both? Where are we at?
We all use
But I-
both.
Yeah,
Well,
we all
one-
use both, but one of them
One
isn't the
of
one of
them-
the seven.
One of them,
Yeah.
you moved here, so which one
Because that was the one that was for tax bill stuff, and you didn't want that to be
So where did you move this from?
one of those zeros.
One of them?
Because my thing is all stapled, it's
All right.
backwards.
So when
101.
you buy office supplies or operating supplies, which line do you put it into?
53.
The 27, 727.
727?
Mhm.
So that's
It's my office
that's
stuff.
Zero
office
budgeted.
supplies.
And you have nothing for operating.
Because the operating was moved down to that 703 that's now just for tax bills.
So this should be 727 office supplies. Good catch, Candy.
You have nothing.
So I
Okay,
guess
hold
if
on.
you want to
Office
get operating
supplies.
supplies at some point, you'll have to come back.
Okay.
Well, she didn't have any operating supplies last year.
Because it was moved to this,
Yeah,
this.
She puts
See,
it in
tax
the-
bill
And she has
expenses.
money,
Right.
money in that, so all
Right.
she needs is office.
So this is supposed to be the 727.
Should be 101-253-727-000 office supplies.
Right, operating, you had nothing last year.
That's because of
And
the.
tax bills, you do
Right.
have money there for you.
Correct,
So you're good, you just need office.
correct.
Can you repeat that?
That's all you need.
The
Just that number.
101-253-727-000.
Got it, thank you.
And it should be office instead of operating.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, would someone like to make this motion?
So moved.
Can I support it?
Sure.
Yes.
I hope you support your own department.
Thought it was your motion.
No, I didn't make the mistake.
Okay, any questions?
No.
Okay, I have a motion by Clerk Allen, and it is seconded by Treasurer Darnell to approve the following budget amendment. And that's to move her office supplies from $0 to $2,100 and increase statutory sales tax from $27,260 to $29,360, which is another increase of $2,100. Okay. Everyone's quiet, so we'll do a roll call.
Is the $2,100 coming out of statutory?
It's adding revenue into statutory.
We're adding revenue because we're adding expense, so her
Yep.
budget still
Gotcha.
balances to
Okay, just want to make sure.
the same number it was
It's
at.
our money.
Huh?
Are we good?
I'm good now.
All right, roll call, please.
Burton,
Yes.
Darnell,
Yes.
De Palma,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously.
Woo-hoo.
You know?
We can write again.
All right, that completes our new business. At this point in time, we'll take citizens' comments on anything. Yes.
Surprise. First off, I gotta say my name every time. You guys gotta be getting used to me by now.
It's for the home
It's for the home
audience.
I'm Rick Gibbons. If you're Carlisle and Wharton,
I am not.
okay.
Rick,
I was gonna apologize, but
should
before
be
this meeting,
addressing
I
the
looked it
board.
up on the agenda. It is a bicycle lobbying group. January 13th, Iron Bale Trail. Okay? Why are we talking about this? Why does this keep coming up in our paper? Why are you guys looking at it? Why, Kathy, are you going to the meetings about the Iron Bale Trail? We voted out of it. We don't want it. How hard is it? We don't want it in our community. We don't want to pay for it. Why do you keep going to it? You're wasting our money going to this stuff. I mean, why does it keep coming up in the paper? I don't understand this. That's exactly why I'm coming here every time, because I'm not sure what's going on. And I look up everything that you put on this agenda all the time. And I've got it right here. You've traced back Carlisle and Wharton Associates. They're bicycle lobbyists. Put in parking lots, bathroom facilities, and stuff for bike trails. You guys got something working on the back burner behind your backs, or what? Now, I don't get answers now either, huh?
no, but I can talk to you after the meeting,
Okay.
okay? Yes, would someone else like to make a comment tonight on anything? Yes, sir.
I would just like to say that my last name is spelled McGuffie. When I read all the minutes or whatever, it's an IE. It's like the crime dog with no R and an IE.
Okay, thank you.
What's his first name?
Yes, yes.
Actually, Brian found this. It's on the actual feasibility study for the long-term care. It says on the bottom, this is the actual bill. Anybody look at the bill? Did you see on the bottom?
No, I didn't see the bottom.
Which bill are you talking?
He's talking about the House bill, the,
Oh,
Fiscal impact.
yeah.
for the,
I read it.
Studies of similar size and scope have cost the Department of Health and Human Resources between $500,000 and $750,000.
Yep.
Do you guys know that?
Yes.
So it's not free.
That's what we're asking
We're trying to
about,
figure out where the funding's coming from.
right, because we've heard a
we're
couple
not
different things.
supposed to talk.
Yeah, sorry.
Whatever, okay.
So anyways, I just wanted to bring that to you. I didn't know if you guys knew that. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Thank
have
you.
it that way, but then we heard that it's different. Or it could be different.
It's not fair to Rick if we
I
start
agree. It
talking
was my mistake,
to
my mistake.
this person.
And your name,
Yes.
sir?
Dave Quapis, Brandon Fire Chief.
You want to talk about that report?
You're gonna
It
make your
really
report
wasn't on the agenda before, and it wasn't in my quarterly or year-end report, so I had to wait till the end here. Our burn permit system is now online. You can obtain a burn permit online. We've had a lot of requests for it. There was some processes that we had to get in place in order to do that. In order to fill out an online burn permit, you need to go to the brandontownship.us webpage. In there, select Fire Department, look for burn permits, and it's in big red print. It says online burn permits now available. Click here. It will guide you through the process. There is a test that you do have to pass.
A questionnaire, yeah.
The good news is if you don't pass it the first time, you can continue taking it.
I only had to do
That
it
is
once.
so scary.
You can self-remediate as many times as you need. If anybody runs into a problem with their address not being accepted, please contact Brandon Fire Station 1 and we will take care of that. But it automatically pulls out, like the trailer parks, neither one of the trailer parks you can have burn permits in. So it pulls all those addresses, anybody puts that in, it just automatically kicks it out, so.
Yeah, because the chief is continuing from his order. I don't consider him acting as a private citizen right now, so I have a question for him. Right? When you
right.
apply for that permit, how long until it starts to be good, and then how long does it last?
Okay, burn permits are yearly. That still has not changed. So it's good for the calendar year of 2000 whatever. So for this year, if you fill out a burn permit, it's good until December 31st of that year. And then next year, you'll have to do the same thing.
Okay.
Fill it out.
So there's not a specific, I guess, unfortunately, I've never applied
Okay.
for one, but I thought it was more a time specific. This weekend I'm burning leaves, chief.
No.
So if you see smoke coming up in the air, don't worry about it.
No.
It's not, okay.
No, the only time that we have to have something of more definitive of when you're burning is if you're going to be doing a bonfire, which
Okay.
is larger than, as at that 6-foot diameter, that type of thing. Anything over 2-foot diameter at that point, you need to let us know that you're gonna burn, so that way we don't, send all the apparatus out and your neighbors wonder, what are you cooking and that type of thing. So, okay? Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Tires, on these cleanup days, there's a lot of tires like on the side of the roads. I don't know if you guys realize this, but if I was to collect the tires, do I have to pay for the disposal of the tires?
I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Or can I just talk to the chief and maybe I can just burn them?
That would be good.
I would not pass the.
No.
I'm just gonna use Kathy's address.
But you can take the test again, so now you know you can't burn tires.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Yes.
I just want to know, since we can't ask you questions and you can't ever answer us and we can't ever get any answers about anything, how do we know to be proactive? Because I was accused of being under a rock this last time this Iron Bell thing blew up in Fluies. And then I see this has been going on for months and months and months, but nobody ever knew about it because there's never anything presented in front of anybody. How do I find out information so that I find out, why are we even entertaining the idea of M15? Again, because it's still a tax problem. Goodrich, I'm so, the comparison of Ortonville to Goodrich is just not even close. They wanted it. Well, they actually, only half of them wanted it if you looked at the votes. It was very close. Number two, they voted a millage ahead of time to pay for it, which means it's not a free trail. So that's another problem. Why are we still having entertaining these ideas from these different companies, from these different meetings? Why is it even being considered on M15? Because, like I said, last time I checked, M15 goes through Brandon, and I thought it was pretty clear how divisive and how evil people got towards their own neighbors, and you want to bring that back again? How do I find out if you people can't answer me and we can't have a discussion? How do I find out?
You can always call the office if you have questions.
And ask what? What are you guys doing that you're not telling us? You see, this is the problem. No, this is the problem. And I don't want to talk to just one of you, because I'm going to get what you tell me, and then I'm going to get what you tell me, and then I'm going to get what you tell me, and then you don't talk to each other. How do we make this not happen again and have another thing like we did at the high school? That's what has to be answered, because this is a bunch of crap. It really is. There's no community meeting going on here at all, because there's no discussion. If you guys are going to represent us, how are you going to do that if you can't talk to us? You see the foolishness of this? Sorry, but it really is pretty obvious, and nobody seems to be making any effort to change the way it goes. So, I don't know. Start putting little flyers in beakies, maybe?
Kathy, can I make a comment to you?
When we
A
do
request
board
to you?
comment, we have
Well, can I
board
go before you
comments.
then?
Sure.
Okay. sorry.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Okay. All right, so at this point, we will do board comments, and we'll start down at this end.
Yes, I will comment on the House bill that we discussed earlier. That was the whole reason that we kind of put it off last time, is because we were concerned about where the monies were coming from to pay for this bill. And because I think everyone agrees that this issue is an issue and it needs to be researched, but we want to be careful how we're, as a board, saying, yes, state of Michigan, spend another $500,000 before we know exactly who's doing this report and what are we getting out of it. In other words, I think I used the word boondoggle last time. I want to make sure it's not a boondoggle for some company that is just pumping census data through some crystal reports and charging us a bunch of money for it. So that's why I talked to Cheryl. Cheryl seemed to think that maybe this isn't being funded by state of Michigan taxpayers. At that point, if that's the case, and I support this, if it is being supported by Michigan taxpayers, then I'm going to need a whole lot more information about what we're getting for $500,000 to $750,000. And I don't care that it's a small percentage of the Michigan bill as far as taxes are available. It's money, and it's time that we are responsible for the money that we're saying, yes, go ahead and spend it. So that's where I'm at.
Dana.
And I agree with everything Scott just said, especially when the lady who came out here on it also told us what other states had paid for, and ours was more than that. So I want to know who's funding this before I do anything of supporting it, even though our supporting it wouldn't mean it's going to happen. I was just going to ask because I did want to go to the trail meeting because I was surprised when I read in the paper that they were having a meeting and we were invited. I just couldn't go because the day before I had already committed to go to the Capitol Conference. So I know, Kathy, you kind of told us what happened, but I know the residents have some questions. And, you know, sometimes it's great when you say you'll talk to me after, but then the rest of us don't hear what you're talking to them about, and us board members don't hear. So I don't know if any of their questions that they're asking, if you can present to us. That's why I asked if you could talk to all of us together during our comment time now, and if you can't, that's fine, but that's why I asked if I could go before you, because I wanted to request something from you too. Thank you.
Okay. Terry.
I did go to the Trail Committee for that very reason, because I really truly believe that there is not a whole lot of transparency, and it kind of miffed me as well. I can tell you that I had no problem standing up and telling them, our residents don't want this trail, find another way. Simple as that. I've got notes. If you would like to come in and have coffee, not a problem. And yes, however we can get the word out, I would be happy to do that. Because we do. We need to have transparency. Or why are you going to trust us to do anything? If you can't trust us in one area, how are you going to trust us in something else?
We'll start over here with Chris and work our way back this way.
I'm definitely in agreement with this M15 thing, and that's all I'm gonna say. I was stunned when I heard you mention they're talking about bringing it up M15, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, this is the word for the day. I was flummoxed.
Flummoxed.
Flummoxed when I saw the article in the newspaper about the.
Not stunned?
No, flummoxed about the trail meetings. I agree, as far as I'm concerned, and I know this because I'm sitting up here. I think I have the dubious title now of being a politician, which just gives me full body shivers. But I'm asking you anyway to trust me. As verbal and as vehemently as I oppose the trails before, please believe me that there's no way I am going to roll over and allow trails to come through this town again. So I understand you're irritated. Trust me, I was flummoxed when I saw the article. But look it up, it's a real word. So as difficult it is to trust a politician, and I guess I am one now, please trust me, I am not going to let trails come up again through this township. The other thing I'd like to say is I notice our stoplight is still out. It's been,
not our
The village
light.
I
manager.
know it's not, I know, but I'm hoping if somebody from the village, I mean, maybe, do we have to like go to Florida to get the
I'll go.
former village manager to come up and fix the light? Is he the one that screws the bulb
He's
in?
in Texas.
Because it's been out like for 4, 5, 6 months. That's it.
It was brought up.
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
Are you flummoxed too?
Is it my turn?
Yes. Clerk.
I wanted to make sure. I understand your frustration. It's frustrating up here that our residents are asking questions and we can only hear comments. And it is very frustrating. I don't know how to fix it, but I totally agree. It'd be nice if we all heard the same thing together, that we're not hiding anything. I don't want to ever hide anything, but it could look that way for sure. So it's a tough thing. I don't know how to fix it, though. Do we make time? Do we add this to the agenda? I'm always available, too, if anybody wants to come.
Excuse me, we're talking. I'm sorry.
Anyway, that's what I have to say, and I know, I feel your frustration.
All right, that's it? Thank you. Okay, when I saw the article in the paper about the trails, I wasn't flummoxed.
No?
But I was surprised, because I hadn't heard anything
were
about
stunned,
it.
maybe.
Okay, whatever. But I hadn't heard anything about them having a meeting. And I had not yet been invited to any meeting. The invite came about a week and a half after the article was in the paper. And at that point, I put it on my agenda because I planned on going. I know that there was some objection to me going, but I felt I needed to go there so I could come back and tell the residents what happened. I invited the board members to go with me, even though they weren't particularly invited, but I thought it might be a good idea since we had already made a determination that we weren't going to have the Iron Bell Trail through Brandon Township. So Scott and Terry also attended with me. And as I stated earlier in my report, because I thought that was valuable information, they are planning to have a public hearing on the 2 different routes. That's what I came away with, that what we need to be looking for.
Will
because,
we find out when that is?
well, when I know, I can get the word out of when the public hearings will be, but they didn't have any dates to share. So at this point,
I think they said in a couple of months.
couple of months, there
They
you go.
say they'd let us know.
Well, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will send out an email, but they have not said that they're going to let us know, you know. That was kind of just the results.
Question?
Sure.
I guess now I'm really flummoxed.
Good word, isn't it?
Because what, other communities can trump our vote?
I don't know.
Not unless they're
There-
gonna pay for it.
And make us pay for it.
I don't.
No,
No, I'm asking Kathy. Is that basically your takeaway from the meeting?
No.
Who's driving this M15?
My takeaway is they don't know what they're doing yet.
I turned away.
And I don't know.
So they just threw out
what- What
M15
was
and-
your takeaway, Scott?
My takeaway was this, is I made it very clear, and I was speaking up in front of, again, all the people that we saw at that October meeting where they had the DNR and Kristen Wilpfang and Iron Belt Trail, and we had Atlas Township, and we had, we had Independence Township,
Independence.
Orion Township. I made it very clear that Brandon Township does not have the funds to pay for this trail.
And I
And
said
be
that
quite
as
honest,
well.
and to be quite honest with you, what I took away from that meeting, but this is only my opinion, that they're pretty much tired of dealing with Brandon Township on this issue. The only reason it's still even partially discussed is because Goodrich has put in their trail and they're trying to figure out some way to be able to connect Goodrich to the Iron Bell Trail. But chances are it's going to go up Dixie Highway and somehow they're going to figure out how to make the Goodrich portion of that trail kind of a side path to the regular Iron Belt Trail. But we made it very clear that our finances would not support, and I said, even if we got a trail for free, it's not the question of putting in the original trail, it's the long-term support, because there is a question of, you know, with all the boardwalks and such, could the township even maintain a trail? Now, I've been open to discussing what was gonna happen on M15, because I wanna be in the know about this, but I've made it very clear that Brandon Township cannot afford this trail. It is possible that Oakland County could get involved. And at some point, if that's the case, then I'm willing to listen to that. I know I'm gonna surprise you on that, but I have to have, as a trustee, I have to have an open mind on these things. And so I'm willing to hear, if Oakland County wanted to pay for a walkway coming up M15, it's something I would be willing to listen to. I'm not saying I'm gonna do it, but I'm willing to listen to that option. But Brandon Township cannot afford to pay for this trail. I've made it very clear.
And that is the first thing I brought up too. We have the highest tax rate, millage rate in Oakland County. I think we equal West Bloomfield. They're high as well. But
Talking about just townships?
yeah, townships in Oakland County. Yep.
Okay.
I know West
Actually,
Bloomfield has a
there's
lot.
only 3 other communities that are higher than us. And
West Bloomfield?
That's Hazel Park.
Hazel Park, I don't know
Okay,
about.
and
But they're a
that's,
city,
Lamphir and Southfield.
and they're both cities, but townships.
Right.
Yeah. So they know
We made
where we're
it painfully
coming
clear.
from.
Yeah, I made it very painfully clear.
But anyways, we need to keep going to the meetings so that we can bring back the information.
Because they're still talking about it, you know, you could say,
Yeah,
well,
that's-
don't go to the meeting, but they're still talking about it, and so it's better for us to be there and know what's going on versus to find out after the fact, in my opinion.
Well, that's what I want, that's why I asked the question to Kathy, is, I wanted to know, is there some greater power than the people in Brandon Township that can trump us?
No.
Not as far as
No.
cost,
Not
but
unless-
as far as putting it through, yes.
If they're gonna pay for it.
That's what, that was my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but think about this.
So we can be overruled.
No. If you're Oxford Township and you're just forking out all this money, and then all of a sudden they're gonna go, okay, Brandon, you get it for free, what do you think Oxford's gonna do? What do you think Lake
No, I'm
Orion's
talking
gonna
about the
do?
state jumping in,
Oh, the state won't.
or
jump in.
Oakland County, and saying, like, guess what? We need to, like,
I don't think so.
I'm just
We
bringing that up.
don't know what's gonna happen,
Major-
but I think we need to just keep.
Majority
up
of
with
that meeting
what they're
focused on coming through Independence Township and up Dixie Highway. Just so you know, the Brandon Township M15 corridor was discussed maybe 5% of that whole meeting. I really think that they're tired of us at this point, and they're gonna end up taking it up Dixie Highway.
It's good.
They wanna keep that pathway coming through Clarkston and then up Dixie, and it makes sense, there's a lot of people in that area versus up here, and I have a feeling that's what's gonna happen, just so people know.
But we don't know, so we will try to keep everybody informed. We can put, if there's a public hearing, we can put it on the Facebook page, we can put it on the website, so that people know, but
And the nice thing about Gov Delivery, when we get that up, when you post, if people,
if there's a change on the website.
if there's a change on the
they get
website,
an
you'll get
alert.
that email. The way Gov Delivery work, if no one has heard about it, Groveland Township has Gov Delivery. I guess we should talk about that some, so people know what Gov Delivery is when we get it. But Gov Delivery is a way that then you can view, you get notices when changes are made to our website, and you can sign up for different notices at county level, state level, all these different levels. Also, then you can get notices when our minutes are put up, or our our agendas and our packets and all that stuff. So you sign up to it online, and then you get these emails. So Gov Delivery is a really great thing. And if we start using that, then people will find out when we put stuff on it.
Okay. As far as tires on the side of the road, yes, there's a charge for them at cleanup days. However, there is a scrap tire grant that can be obtained to help get rid of scrap tires. And Paul, after the meeting, if you're interested in collecting tires, then maybe we can figure something out
And say if there's just ones on the side of the road that are nobody's.
Well, they just throw them in the ditch.
Yeah, I
Well-
mean, they were somebody's, but we don't know who they are, and
But
we need to
there's a
get, clean up
there's a
our.
cost attached to getting rid of tires.
Fingerprint them?
Yeah,
So
but
even if you take them to the tire store, they're gonna charge you.
With you and
see
I'll work
Greg
with
Fence
Paul on
getting
that. I'll help.
Okay.
One way or another, we'll get them out.
yeah, I was gonna say
Don't
we
want-
should clean up our
But we want to
township.
be careful what we're saying here, because we don't want to say,
Yeah.
yeah, throw your tires in the ditch, because we're gonna
No,
come pick
that's
them
true.
up. So, no.
That's true.
Well, I'm serious.
No, I agree, but I hate to see the tires just
I
sit there
know.
because no one wants to pay the $3
We'll take a
a
look at
tire.
As far as Carlisle Wortman, they've been our planners for quite a few years. When was that, where we sent the bids out for a new planner? That was, I think that was at the beginning of your first term.
We didn't do the planner.
I
Or,
thought we
no,
did.
we
And-
did all the insurances.
Well, then it was before you, but we did, we did send out bids for planners, and they came in at they were the most reasonably cost for us, and then, I mean, I think all planners probably are willing to help put in trails. I don't think it's just this one. So anyways. What- I'll talk to you after the meeting. You can show me what you've got. So I think that about ends my comments, and I think everybody had plenty of comments up here. At this point, we can entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved. Second. Third.
Try not to talk so I don't breathe.
I have a motion by trustee Marshall to adjourn, and that is seconded by trustee Cordella. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.